So today we're going to do a model build of two cars, a Hot Wheels and a Matchbox car, to replicate those in the Automotive Tales stable. First of those is the lovely Hot Wheels Volvo 850 British touring car, and the second is a Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. So as you can see, the Volvo is already taken apart, so now we're going to go around taking apart the Rolls-Royce. First things first, drill out those rivets. So on the Matchbox, which is the Rolls-Royces, there's two rivets, one at the front, one at the back. On the Volvo, the Hot Wheels, there's just the one at the front. As it happens, this one actually came pre-disassembled from an online seller, which was quite handy and also made it cheaper. As you can see, you apply a drill to a rivet. So this should take just a couple of seconds with a decent drill bit. Unfortunately, this one didn't appear to be a decent drill bit. With a better drill bit found and applied, I was able to drill out the rivets. However, I forgot to turn the camera on. So here we are, post-rivet removal. The base comes off with a nice little spring to hold the wheels. And then slowly prise out the interior, which is surprisingly fiddly. So nice little single moulding for the seats, and then the glass should just pop out with a bit of luck. So glass out, next on to the doors. So this little Matchbox car actually has opening front doors, as you can see here. And they have a tiny little spring to the chassis of the car just under the bonnet there. So what we do is just prise the little spring out and the door should pop straight out. So there we have it, doors out. One last thing I forgot to do is take off the headlights and the grille, which is a single piece of moulding. So this just pops out from the back. Said handy blunt drill does still have a use. Just pop those out and then prise it with my trusty penknife. So the next step is to remove all the paint. We're going to put these in a slightly different colour to match those in the collection. So we're going to apply a paint stripper to both of the shells. I'm just going to put it on with a little toothbrush, and then we have to sit and wait. By sit and wait, I mean go out for a walk in the sunshine, because this can take an hour, hour and a half for it to properly work. So as this process is somewhat laborious and boring, I thought I'd give you some facts about the cars. First off, the Volvo. This is a British Touring Car Championship model of the 94 season car. I believe the first estate to race in Touring Car Championship. And it was surprisingly successful. Built by TWR on behalf of Volvo. And the success was supposedly put down to the aerodynamic advantages of an estate. Nothing to do with TWR cheating in any way, shape or form. What we're converting it to is a Volvo T5R, which was released in 1995, off the back of the success of the touring car work. The T5R is quite a rare car, so 440 brought into the UK in total. Ours is Gull, or Yellow, as it's known, of which there were 118 brought into the UK. And that 118 is split to 79 estates, or the 855 as it's known, and 39 saloons, the 854. Our particular example is an automatic, which makes it one of only 41 yellow 850 estates automatics in the UK. So quite a rare car, and an interesting car at that. So the engine ECU setup, transmission and suspension were tuned with the help of Porsche, making it quite an interesting car to drive. 243 horsepower, 340 newton meters of torque out of the factory, giving it a 0 to 62 of 6 seconds in our example as an auto, or 5.8 as a manual. Definitely pretty quick for 1995. The other car we are working on is the Rolls-Royce Silver Spirit. So this was brought out in 1980 to replace the slightly older Silver Shadow, or Shadow 2 as it got to by then. and ran as a Mark 1 from 1980 to 1989 on something called the SZ chassis, which was shared between Rolls-Royce and Bentley. This particular chassis carried on for a full 19 years through to 1999. The Spirit carried much the same mechanicals as the Shadow, with the 6.75 litre L410 V8 and the GM THM 400 3-speed. It's a fairly standard GM 3-speed used in all sorts of American cars as well. It also had a Citroen Hydro pneumatic system for the self-levelling suspension, which was licensed and used on the Rolls-Royce. So quickly back to the build. First step is to add primer to the fully cleaned shells. So here you can see both of them, including the doors for the Rolls-Royce, in primer, and then a first coat of yellow for the Volvo, followed by a very shiny first coat of black for the Rolls-Royce. So our particular example of Rolls-Royce is an 81 in gloss black, as you can see here. While I was painting these, I used a little plastic box to help bake the paint on, as we had some really good sunny weather. However, I discovered lacquer and hot paint do not go together very well, and this was the effect of a first shot of lacquer. So unfortunately for the Rolls-Royce, it was back to square one. So slightly annoyed by this, I didn't bother recording the rework, but here you can see the finished product of the two shells painted and temporarily reassembled before detailing. So first pass at the Volvo, got the rear lights on, got the little black bit for the number plate cover, some little black on for the door handles, some little dots of silver for the mirrors. And we've got the headlights on. And then for the interior part, we've got painted the wheel, and you can just about see the grille on the front there, so little bits. And for the Rolls-Royce, not much to show here, but a little bit of silver for the door handles. The rear lights need another coat. You can't quite see the first coat of red on there, but you see the little dot for the Rolls-Royce badge on the back, and same with the doors as well. So we've got a little lots of silver on there for the chrome door handles. We're getting there very slowly. And the interior, so I painted the wheel, the dash, which click back into place, and got a little bit of black flooring on there because I'm sad and I have a rubber mat in the real thing. So I've got a little black rubber mat, whereas the rest of it's cream, so that's all matched. And I don't know if you can actually see on there, I've got two tiny little silver dots to represent the controls for the mirrors that sit in the middle. You can just about make them out. So I'm going to put them back together and do a first go photo. I don't think that looks half bad for a first go at doing this. Just makes me miss going and playing with the real thing. But never mind, when lockdown's over, we can go and do some proper car playing. So the next stage of the build is to prepare the shells to go back together properly. As we've drilled the rivets out, we need to put something back in place to hold the whole thing together. And that is going to be a small M2.5 screw. So the first thing we've got is these 2.005 millimeter jobber drill bits, which will be the first pass, and then run through those with these taps. So we've got a nice M2.5 thread to screw into, and then we can put the whole thing back together. So while we go about putting it all back together, I thought I'd give you a few more facts about the Rolls-Royce. So what we've got is it's an early one. Ours is an 81, so quite light. It's in the sort of 2.3, 2.4 ton region, but some of the later models up to the 99 Bentley Turbo Rs could be as much as 3 tons, especially if they had the longer wheelbase. Quite a monster. And at 5.3 metres long, don't have to take some parking. It literally touches the front and the back of the garage. That whopping 6.75 litre V8 I mentioned produces a whole, wait for this, 237 brake horsepower. Compare that to the 243 that the Volvo's producing from just a 2.3 litre 5-cylinder turbo. That's really not a big number, but it does give a whopping 450 newton meters of torque from 2000 RPM. So it's great for wafting, as you would expect from a Rolls-Royce. Interestingly, but completely irrelevant, its 0 to 62 time is somewhere between 10 and 11 seconds, depending on the age and spec. So really not a sports car by any stretch of the imagination. As I mentioned, our example is a 1981 car, bought in 2019 with just under 90,000 miles for a hefty £4,000. It was a bit of a gamble that luckily seemed to pay off. We took it all the way down to Le Mans in 2019. We've got a whole other video for you on that, so keep your eyes on the channel and look out for that. So back to the build. As you can see, we're slowly drilling out the hole ready for the tap. I wouldn't necessarily advise doing it this way. If you were to slip or break the drill bit, chances of it going through your fingers is pretty high. But I'm braving it for this, even with the wobbly chuck. We are getting there slowly. Hole's finally completed. The last step was just to put the M2.5 tap down the hole and ready the shell for going back together and screwing in. So, firstly, I thought I'd show you an interior shot here. You see some little details we put on the interior before we clip it all back together, and then upside down into the foam, and time to screw in the tiny M2.5 screw. And then once again for the Silver Spirit, just a little M2.5 screw into the back, and we're away. So let's have a look at the finished article. I think they don't look too bad, to be honest, for a first go at least. So let's have a look, see how they compare to the real thing. So here she is, our lovely Silver Spirit, outside the delightful Cliveden house. We were lucky enough to visit with it last year, and here is the finished model. I'd say that's a pretty good likeness all in all. I have to say we've really enjoyed this Silver Spirit. It's been a lot of fun to own and a joy to drive, but don't let anybody ever tell you there's such a thing as a cheap Rolls-Royce. The last service and MOT just before lockdown cost almost as much as the car did to buy. So next, the Volvo 850 T5R, and here she is in all of her yellow glory, obligatory photo outside a Volvo workshop, and I think the model looks pretty good all in all. Not quite the right shade, but near enough for the shelf at home. The T5R has been in the collection a little bit longer. About 2015, I think, we bought the Volvo. And it's been used for all sorts of things, from the yellow car convoy to Volvo 600. But most importantly, this was actually my wedding car. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed me droning on half as much as I've enjoyed doing these models during lockdown. As it looks like this is going to go on a while longer, I have 1 or 2 more Matchbox builds planned before we get back to doing videos about actual cars. If you enjoyed this video, do please like and subscribe for more Automotive Tales content.